This week on Let's Move to Portugal, Carl Munson, also known as Mr. Portugal, shares his journey of moving to Portugal, the evolution of the expat community, and the joys of family life on the Silver Coast.
Where
Yes.
you really started the daily show because people were isolated.
Yeah, absolutely. All about that. And that is my sort of covert hidden agenda all the time, is like, although it seems to be, it's a sort of big picture and it's about community. Ultimately, a community is made of individuals, and those individuals have all got their own individual story. And everybody needs, a bit like education we were talking about, everybody needs what's right for them to blossom and flourish and have a great life. But you have to start somewhere, don't you? I think you have a sort of, you come into a community, and then when people know there are tools for opening up individually, that's where the magic happens. And I don't just mean like bad stuff, because there are things to deal with, and there are anxieties and there are difficulties of a personal nature that are to do with your individual circumstances, but also our growth, our spiritual growth, who we are as human beings. And presumably we've come here to continue that journey as well, of us unfolding as human beings. That beautiful, positive stuff is also very individual, and I think might need context and encouragement and support as well. And that's what I'm really interested in now, is that sort of stuff.
Do you feel like even back then you were bringing the glad approach to what you were doing on each show?
Yeah. I didn't know it was called that, though. I didn't know that's what it was about. And
Can you explain to the audience what the glad approach is? Yeah.
Okay. It starts with the ad approach, and I have to take my hat off to the originators of these stages along the journey. But aging and dying. I don't know if you've spoken to Joy Goldman. She was in Setúbal, and she was aware that there was and forgive me, this is my paraphrasing and my understanding of the situation. I recommend her as a guest to speak to. And this was about the lack of emergency or urgent resourcing if you become ill or unwell in an emergency situation. ERs, I think they're called, not as in the ER room, but that's where you might end up. If you have a life-changing moment, she recognized that the support system isn't there, and you're in a foreign country and you're likely to go down a particular path. So she became very purposeful and created an aging and dying group in Setúbal, which has been incredibly successful. And people are now looking after each other in networks should something difficult happen. So an emergency one-off, or a more chronic situation where you need ongoing care for the rest of your life. This is a difficult thing for people to talk about. And obviously it's a difficult thing for people to face when they actually get there. Yep. Then we had somebody called Amelie, who I spoke to recently, who moved to Caldash. She picked up the aging and dying and put an L in front of it. Living, aging and dying. It's not all about, death and doom and the end of life stuff, although that is very important. And we do need to talk about that at some point. But she's like, living, aging and dying. Great. Let's talk about, what it is to live a great life here, as well as have those preparations and networks for being looked after in difficult times. And just as I mentioned to you there, I know I've added a G on it now. So we've gone from adding to ladding to gladding, which is growing, living, aging and dying. Because I think, these are a really kind of awful and amazing times that we're living in, like unprecedented, seismic, challenging times for people. And we all have our different way of talking about that, don't we? It might be a religious, it might be a spiritual, it might be a political reference point for that. But I don't think anyone can deny that 2025 is an upheavalist, if that is even a word, is an upheavalist time. And in upheavalist times, we learn about ourselves, and in difficult times, we grow. And I think, as well as it being very challenging and difficult, it is the most amazing time for people to talk about and put into practice what they really believe in this opening, in this opportunity for change. We don't have to have what's coming. We can influence what could be, and have that happen if we apply ourselves to it, if we think about our vision. And so, sorry, that's a very long answer to gladding, but the growing part is really important to me. I've come here to enjoy the rest of my life here, and that isn't just about cheap lifestyle, or and those are important considerations. If you're up against it financially, it's going to be a difficult influence in your life. So it is good to move somewhere where the ratio is better for you financially and socially and politically. But what then? What when you've had when you reach peak pastel de nata, as I call it? It's like, well, I figured it out on the sort of basic levels of Maslow's hierarchy. But what about the self-actualization? What about, creativity and growth and being the fullest of our human potential? If we figured out those basic things, we then have an opportunity to address that. And that's my invitation to anyone who comes here, is do that. And part of that can be, if you're going to be an asset as a human being, you're going to be an asset to Portuguese culture and society as well, potentially, aren't you? And that's going to be part of the whole giving back conversation as well, which I think more and more people are having as well.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you before maybe we get onto that part. In what ways has Portugal helped you grow? What ways are you living?
That's
interesting. I know that you're aging, but you're not dying.
We're all dying, Josh.
No.
Newsflash, right? And it is a difficult conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be 60 this year.
Yeah.
And that brings a certain sort of perspective. But I'm an unusual person in as much as I think I've always put that stuff first to my material, physical and everyday cost. I've tended to be more interested in the sort of spiritual development and what are we really here for? What are human beings really here for, and why, and what can we do for each other have been really important things to me at material cost, I have to say. And it feels like that conversation is an easier one to have now. It's like, in a way, the ground has risen to meet my feet. And I think that's a lot for a lot of people as well, who've had those kind of meaning of life preoccupations and not been able to fit in. That's also what's happening at the moment, I think, is like, more people are up for a profound conversation. More people are prepared to think, well, something's not working. What might work? What could benefit us all? How could we live differently that would be a better thing? So I've always had that, and I suppose Portugal is a great place to be for somebody with those sorts of preoccupations, because even if it's not like explicit in the culture, it is a calm, kind culture. And that's generally speaking, and that is such a rich environment in which to think about what it is to be a human being and to be a decent human being as well, whatever that means to you.
Yeah. I mean, what I was hearing as you were talking about it was that Portugal is a slower pace. So therefore people have time to kind of reflect and be introspective and start to have those deeper thoughts. Whereas, if you're in the throes of the rat race, all you're thinking about is like that forward progress and moving forward, not analyzing what you've been through and everything. So, I mean, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. I totally agree. And that was quite honestly, 20 years ago, nearly, I thought I would just be leaping out of the British rat race, which is a different league to the American rat race, of course.
Yeah.
But it was still a rat race, and I'd never really adjusted very well to it as a person anyway. And I thought, okay, well, I'll get my pile of rocks in central Portugal, my renovation project, and that'll be me. I'm going to leave this crazy world behind, and I'm going to go and be in central Portugal. It didn't work out like that. Life doesn't, does it? And I've had to get better at worldly matters and worldly things, because that's also personal growth as well, isn't it? How you manage all of that. But you're absolutely right. It is a fantastic backdrop to be a bit more introspective and just to even have the time to breathe. I mean, that's quite the benefit, isn't it, in today's world?
So what I'm hearing is it's great for people who want to chill out and retirees. Yeah. But do you think that there's a corner of Portugal, maybe in Lisbon, maybe in Porto, that's better for people that are younger, that have drive and energy and maybe some entrepreneurship?
Definitely.
Do you find that as well?
Yes, because the young entrepreneurs aren't falling for you need to kill yourself to make a living and make decent terms with the world. They're not in the rat race, are they? They are. I mean, of course, there are those competitive and commercial imperatives, but I think generally that the smartest ones are saying, well, it doesn't have to be done like that. We don't have to sort of sacrifice ourselves on the altar of utter, corporate commercialism to have a decent life, because they're looking at people who've done that and they're not having a great life, are they? They're having a difficult life whilst doing their best. And this is not a criticism of people. This is a criticism of the system. And I think the younger ones are like, That's insane. I think we can make dream companies and products and services here using the incredible technology we've got available to us without doing ourselves in the process, which they may have seen their parents doing. So yeah,
Sure.
I think Portugal's a great place to do that. And actually, being retired and still and mindful all the time is probably not a great idea. It's good to have a little bit of some
Activity.
interest. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. It's attractive, isn't it? It's kind of an ideological, abstracted thing, isn't it? That I shall just go and be contemplative, but it doesn't work for humans. We tire of that eventually.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I definitely tire when I take too long in my own thoughts. It's like, oh, this is exhausting. Let me just get back out there and work.
Yay! That's right. It's dangerous.
So you've made some changes with your work, whereby you were saying earlier that you were recording and going live rather on a daily basis, and now you're opting to record and release those episodes. Let's say at your cadence or cadence that works for the YouTube algorithm. So what are you finding with that, and what are you doing on your channel these days?
So I've kept with the rhythm because it's occurred to me that I need something to get out of bed for in the morning. Although that's changed as well. It was really good for me since 2020 to get out of bed every morning to do a show. So I had my own little, again, another hidden agenda of like, well, I'm doing this because I love doing it and it's a community thing. But actually, if I wasn't doing it, I might still be lying in bed because I didn't have that sort of discipline for myself. That's changed as well, actually, because I now get up at 5:30 or 6 every morning and just spend a little bit of time in sort of quiet contemplation. I don't want to sound too pretentious about that, and it's just a change. I'm not on some kind of extreme life hacking regime that makes me do that and get up in the morning. It's just happened quite naturally.
Cold plunges, intermittent fasting, all that.
I get a cold plunge in the bay, like a natural one here.
Yeah.
And although it was really pleasant a couple of days ago, the first time I went in this year was a cold plunge, and I appreciated all those guys who do that stuff. Intermittent fasting is when I've worked too long and I've missed the window. Yeah, I've missed Portuguese lunch and they haven't started serving yet at 8. That's intermittent fasting in Portugal, isn't it? When you miss the restaurant times.
Yes. And it happens very naturally. It creeps up on you.
We got it natural here. We don't have to make a book about it. It's just happened naturally. But so I'm still getting up in the morning and keeping the same routine with because the show is about talking to people on a monthly basis, a brilliant cast of people who have a different angle on Portuguese life, many of them Portuguese now. And they are like our teachers, guides, and mentors. So I keep that. This morning I talked to 2 Portuguese people. One of them's in Paris at the moment. Portugal's second largest city, they call it. And Nunu, my friend in Lisbon, talk to them, and then I'll upload it afterwards. I'll pull shorts from it, and it's incredible. I don't like to think of myself as a slave to the algorithm. But it's clearly better, and I've got excited about YouTube again because I'm seeing, the needle's moving in the right way. It's really fun, isn't it? I look at real-time analytics now. I'll put something out. It's like, woo, this is amazing. And so it's reinvigorated my interest in YouTube. I don't care about Facebook broadcasting so much, X or anything. It's about the YouTube, and it's about also my private community that I like, the inner chamber of the community that's come from Good Morning Portugal.
And where can people find you on YouTube?
Good Morning Portugal. If they search Good Morning Portugal, they will see thousands of videos. The less is more legacy right there, Josh, that you warned me about. But there are thousands of videos now.
Awesome. Carl, thanks for joining us on our podcast. We appreciate having you.
It's been really lovely to catch up and talk to you again. And I have to thank you for immortalizing that "Be Portuguese About It." You picked that out, didn't you? From the first time we spoke.
Yes.
I think that the title of the podcast was "Be Portuguese About It," because that was one of my answers to your questions, wasn't it? What should we do about this? Well, be Portuguese about it. And to this day, Josh, somebody will say to me with a glint in their eye, "Do you mean be Portuguese about it?" It's like, yes, that's it.
That's it. Awesome. Well, I hope that I can find another one of those as I listen back to this podcast, and I'll put it front and center in the title or on the thumbnail.
Thank you. Love to you and your family. Thank you so much.
Likewise, love to you guys. Take care.